Hello, my friends, and welcome. This is Father Marcus from the Costa Blanca Anglican Chaplaincy. Delighted to spend a little bit of time with you talking about one of the great heroes of the Christian faith. On Sunday, this Sunday, in the Christian Church, we keep the feast of St. Luke, the evangelist. Very, very famous Christian. He's the one who wrote the Gospel, according to St. Luke, and the Acts of the Apostles, and so his writings constitute more than a quarter of the whole of the New Testament, and they just tell the story of the person of Jesus Christ, his before he was born, his birth, his ministry, his death, his resurrection, and then the Acts of the Apostles tells the story of the birth of the church and the coming of the Holy Spirit, and the spread of the Christian message throughout the known world. And Luke is the hero of the story in the sense that he just tells it. He tells it like it is. It flows out of him in this glorious and easy way. Storytelling is at the very heart of our Christian faith. Jesus himself, when he decides how he's going to change the world, decides that the way he's going to do it is to tell stories. And that's what he does. He tells stories that people understand and grasp and get. And these stories, they all point to God. And later on, the Gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, just tell the story. They let what is inside them out in such a beautiful and flowing fashion that people can't get enough of them. And this is incredible. We have been studying these stories for over 2,000 years, and still people get brand new insights out of them every day. The Bible is still a bestseller. And of the whole of the Bible, the books that are read most and devoured by all sorts of people more than any other are the Gospel of Luke and the Acts of the Apostles. And they're telling the story of the great things that God has done. And they've influenced countless Christians throughout history. And because of Luke's writing, millions upon millions of people have embraced the Christian faith. And we can't praise St. Luke enough for his inspired decision to put down and to write the stories that he did. And bless him. And bless all those who've reflected on them ever since. But here's the thing. You and I have stories of our own. We have stories inside us. And some folk are great at telling stories and sharing their faith journey and encouraging others to explore their own journey and their own faith and what it all means to them. Others of us keep it much more to ourselves and think no one would be interested. But the reality is, I have never ever heard a life story of someone that wasn't interesting. We all, every single one of us, have something to offer in the way of the story of our life. And those of us who have received the gift of faith, each of us has something to offer other people about the story of our spiritual Christian journey. And what I would like us to do is to spend a little bit of time reflecting on our own story. And then, once we've done a little bit of thinking about it, trying to discern whether or not it's something that it might be worth sharing. And if it is, let's then think about ways that we might want to do that. And I think this is a 4-grape challenge. That's what it is. It's a 4-grape challenge. I've got 4 grapes in a bowl. There's just one. And I'm going to give you a question with each of those grapes. And I'm going to give you a tiny, tiny reflection on my answer to it, just so that you can start thinking. But what I would like you to do is to listen to the questions and then think about your own answer. My answer is not important in this. Your answer is the one that will make most sense. So here we go. First one. First grape, first question, first story in your mind. Here it goes. When did the idea of God start making sense for you? You probably heard bits and pieces about God from when you were absolutely tiny, and it was a word, along with lots of other things. But at some stage in your life, it began to make sense. You began to understand that it was something bigger than just a word. And so what I'd like you to do is to reflect on, when did the idea of God start making sense for you? And I'll tell you when it was for me, really, really quickly. It was when I was very, very young in Sunday school, and our Sunday school teacher was trying to encourage us to understand that God was everywhere, that God was beyond us, and wherever we went, we were somehow always in his presence. And for some reason, that really struck a chord with me. And I asked stupid, ridiculous questions about where he was and where he wasn't and all that sort of stuff. But the idea that everywhere I was in the presence of God. And it sort of flowed around in my childish little mind for a while, until I began to understand that somehow, not only I, but we all lived in him, within him, in his presence. And it was the most comforting thing, that this God that I'd been told loved us, we were somehow in his presence. So that's the very quick answer to my first question. The second great question, here's number 2. I'm going to read it. What has been your most religious experience? I've had numbers and numbers of religious experiences when I've genuinely felt as if somehow God had communicated with me. And some of them I've told on this platform before, so I don't need to tell you them all again. But there have been occasions when somehow I came to a conclusion that I don't believe I would have come to on my own. But there's one experience in my life that stands out, possibly head and shoulders above every other. And this was watching a post-mortem. I was working in the hospital at the time, in the accident emergency theatres. I'd seen all sorts of horrible and dramatic things that it's not great for everyone to see. But the sister on the unit knew that I was fascinated by everything that was going on. And one day there was a post-mortem, and she asked me if I'd want to go and watch it. And it was the most fascinating thing that I have ever seen in my life. This man, sadly, he had slipped on the ice, fallen over backwards, smashed his head and died. But they had to do a post-mortem to see whether or not there was a reason why he fell over, or whether there's a reason why that event killed him. And they just took him apart, starting with the head and opening him up. I don't want to go into all the gory details, but it was incredible. The human being, the human body, the human person is the most amazing thing that is within our conception, and it's even beyond all of that. And the fact that we have a heart and liver and lungs and kidneys and intestines and bowels and all the bits and pieces that all function and work and do their thing, and it just works. Most of the time it just works, and the brain is just incredible. And this is before we even start thinking about imagination and art and music and all those things that we can create in our heads. And for me, it was such a religious experience because there was no way that I could ever understand that we just happened by accident. It's too incredible and too incredible. So that is my most religious experience. Third question. Reflect on the most inspiring act of worship that you've ever experienced. It's my job. I go to worship all the time. Forever. I'm always in church and in monasteries when I'm on retreat, and in great pilgrimages to places like Walsingham, and I've been to the Holy Land in Jerusalem and Nazareth, and got ordained, big deal. You get ordained twice as a deacon and a year later as a priest. All those wonderful experiences where beautiful stuff's happened. But for me, the most inspiring act of worship is what we do on Holy Saturday every year. That singing of the Exalted, and that renewal of our baptismal vows, and that offering again our sense of self, and that anticipation of the great celebration of the resurrection. If you've never been to a Holy Saturday, that's the day before Easter Eve, act of worship, it is beautiful. Church starts in darkness, and we come in with a lit Paschal candle, and the light is shed to every congregant there, and the Exalted just lifts the place. So that for me is my most inspiring act of worship, and I long to do it again next Easter. And my final question, final grape, I love it. Juice on the computer. Which one thing would you want your grandchildren to understand about faith? What's the most exciting thing that you would like your grandchildren to understand about faith? And for me, this is an easy one. And it's the fact that faith is a mystery. And once people start grasping something of the faith, whatever it is that they begin to grasp, and realise that it's beyond us and there is mystery involved in it, it's this: never lose sight of that sense of mystery. Never let go of that sense that somehow there is the other, that which is bigger and better and beyond us. Having that sense of mystery does so many things, not least keep our faith alive. So today, tomorrow, give thanks for the life and work and writings of St. Luke. Give thanks for the stories that Jesus told and Luke reported, and think of your own story and see what you can share. So bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you, and until next time.